Okay, what he has questions about the or statements about the direction of management?
Yeah, yes.
Good. You know, it really, I always thought the direction of management was very important, but I looked at it from a much different angle. Now, it seems the direction of management is the Achilles heel of the corporate dictatorship of ISKCON. See, Prabhupada wanted it to be represented by from the man in the street up through the temple president, up through the GBC, not that it would be the GBC dictating down. And there's no indication that he ever wanted the GBC to be a dictatorship. Right?
Yeah. So this is very interesting, to say the least. That,
yeah, I think that it's very possible that we have the whole thing in the palm of our hand, and we haven't realized it yet.
yeah. Okay, Satya Prabhu, you're okay. Satya Prabhu, hold on.
Oh, sorry, bro. Unfortunately, I came.
Yes. So ask your question, Prabhu. What is your question? Narayan Prabhu's here and Rupa Manjari Prabhu. We're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. So you wanted to ask a question about the direction of management? Go ahead.
Yes, bro. Hare Krishna, bro, everyone.
Jai.
Actually,
or make a statement about the direction of management.
Yes.
Actually, the direction of management means actually some of the devotees. Actually, my question is, bro. Some of the devotees are criticizing some Ritvik organizations because those organizations have not formed GBC. So they are saying, so they are not bona fide because they are not formed the GBC. So how much correct, Prabhu, is it? Is there any true in this? Because actually recently I got one letter that in that there is a mention, Prabhupada has mentioned that GBC has to be formed in the organization.
Yeah.
Yes, bro. I think,
But
you know,
they have
some
not-
yes, bro.
Very true. Very true. So you're saying that the ISKCON is saying that the Ritviks have not formed the GBC, therefore they don't have a right to exist?
Yes, bro. Yeah, exactly, bro.
Fascinating. Have they been able to explain the fact that the GBC is supposed? Are you familiar with the direction of management? Have you seen it?
Yes, bro. I have read that one.
Have you read it?
Yes, bro.
Okay. Doesn't it seem to indicate that the GBC is meant to be elected every 3 years by the temple presidents?
Yes, bro. Yeah.
So how can ISKCON, such as it is, how can they claim to be authentic when they do not elect their GBC at all?
Yeah. Actually, this question was raised by one ISKCON Bangalore devotee from ISKCON Bangalore, not Hare Krishna movement.
What is that? Hare Krishna movement.
HKM devotee. Actually, recently, there is a Hare Krishna community, I think so, probably you know about it in Jaipur.
Yes, there's several, aren't there?
Yes, bro.
Aren't there several ISKCON groups in Jaipur?
They are not ISKCON groups. They are also Ritvik organization only, bro. They are just trying to.
People who follow Prabhupada?
Yes, bro. They are actually trying to establish Varnashrama Dharma and farm community there.
Yes, I know.
Yes, bro. Actually,
my son was living there for a while, and he was involved with some of those projects.
Okay. Yes, bro.
So what is your exact question, Satya Prabhu?
Yes, my exact question is, bro, that can we preach, or can we establish an organization without GBC also? That is my question, bro. Or
GBC,
You should establish a GBC by the DOM.
Mataji?
You should establish a legal GBC for the Ritbik people
Okay.
utilizing the direction of management document.
Yes,
It's
Mataji.
a
But
protocol.
actually, it's a problem. But actually, they are single organization only. They didn't have any branches also.
what?
That's why they.
Do they have enough people to sit on the seats of the GBC?
Even the devotees are also mostly grihasthas only, and the brahmachari devotees are also less than 10. Mostly 10 only, I think so.
ISKCON existed for 4 years or 5 years before a GBC was established.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You do not need to have a GBC in order to have a temple. The purpose
Okay.
of the GBC is to be able to do some cross-pollinating between the temples, because when you elect, the GBC is elected from the temple presidents. You have 12. So if you have 12 temples, or if you have 20 or 30 temples, then you put up a group on a ballot, and the ballot is voted on by the temple presidents. Whichever 12 predominate in the election, they become the GBC for 3 years. And then
Yes,
after
Prabhu.
the 3 years, they can be reelected, or they can go back and become temple president. And in fact, they don't even have to, for the most of the time, leave their temples. They can be temple president and GBC, but the GBC has all extra duties, which means the GBC needs to move toward the GBC needs to move towards a meeting regarding some temple may have a problem, or one temple wants to get established, one temple is trying to buy some property and needs guidance. So the GBC may drive, fly, bicycle to a meeting with those temples wherever they are. Like in California, there's quite a few temples, not as many as there would have been if the GBC had been elected here. Because if the GBC had been elected here, it would probably be 3,000 or 4,000 temples in Los Angeles.
Okay.
You know, I think there's 100 million people in Los Angeles, one ISKCON temple.
Oh, only one.
Yeah, no, only one, because when they created the GBC as a non-elected body themselves, against Prabhupada's direct order, they didn't want to have too many temples because they didn't want anyone taking away their personal power.
Okay.
So they'd rather have 100% control of one temple than almost zero control of 1,000 temples.
Okay. But is it not possible, bro? Because actually that some Ritwik organizations are actually trying to follow Prabhupada very sincerely, but they didn't have GBC. So can they continue their preaching activities, or they should first of all establish the GBC, or they are to be considered as not bona fide, bro?
No. Why do they, on what basis do they say that you have to have a GBC to be bona fide?
I think
Yeah,
you left.
actually, yes, Mataji.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
get the, yeah, Mataji?
Actually, they are saying that Prabhupada in that formation letter, he have mentioned that GBC has to be formed. It is actually his spiritual master's desire also. As that Ritwik organizations are not following the order of the Prabhupada, so they must be considered as some bogus or not bona fide. So although they preaching, they do.
But are they following? Do they have a GBC? Does ISKCON, as a big international corporation, does ISKCON have a GBC?
No.
You say, but what does our Prabhu say?
Yeah, ISKCON, actually, they have GBC, no, Prabhu. I think so.
They do. And the GBC is elected by the temple presidents every 3 years.
Oh, actually, I don't know. I think they are not following.
Right. They're not elected at all. And on top of it, they've become a board of dictators. And as dictate, the GBC is supposed to be like if you elect a congressman or you elect a representative or a mayor in a town, if it's elected, that mayor is there at the pleasure of the citizens. Not that
Yes,
he
bro.
dominates the citizens and controls them. That's a dictator. The GBC has taken the role of dictator. On top of that, the only way a person can become an ISKCON so-called guru is to be appointed by the GBC that's not elected.
Okay.
So there's two things that are completely against Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. That the temple president, the guru cannot be voted in by a GBC, and the GBC cannot vote in anybody if they can't do anything if they're not elected by the temple presidents. Right now we have so many temples that we would have to probably have about 10 GBCs at least. I mean, probably one GBC for every, let's just say generously, for every 100 temples, one body of GBC of 12 GBCs for every 100 temples. And then they're voted in every 3 years. You see? So how can they claim that they have a GBC when they neither have elections and they have one GBC of probably 60 or so people dominating the entire world?
Okay.
The GBC is supposed to be there to help the local temples expand and develop more and more and more temples, not under GBC control at all, but under temple president control. For instance, anyone can open a temple who wants to. All they have to do is open their doors to their house with deities inside and say, come in, this is now an ISKCON temple. They can register as an ISKCON temple.
What does Ramachandra have to say?
Say about what, Rupa Manjari Prabhu? About the
About
GBC?
this, about what do you think should be done?
Well, Narayan Prabhu answered that question in the beginning. He said when Prabhupada registered, he went for the GBC in 1970, right? The document.
Yes.
And then he said, now we have many centers and he wants to establish a standard. So if you have one temple, then obviously, once the congregation gets going, then you can establish the GBC. Why do you need it when you have only one temple in that, where the Prabhupada is the guru? If you have 10 temples under Prabhupada.
10 or 20 temples, then
Yeah.
you can, but you can't even do it with 10 temples because the GBC must be 12. So how do you get 12 GBCs out of 10 temples?
Yeah, that's the thing. So,
but if you have 20, 30, 40 temples, then you elect 12 men to be GBC. They can travel around, and it's described in the direction of management exactly what the GBC is supposed to do. And the GBC of ISKCON now, they are not elected.
Yeah.
Then,
nor are they necessarily temple presidents.
Yeah. The Bear Krishna is the GBC and temple president of North Carolina. So he's in a.
But I mean, GBC, but who elected him to be GBC?
He's the temple president and the GBC. He said because he started the temple, he's the GBC and the temple president.
Well, he's definitely the temple president, but for him to be the GBC, a group of temples would have to elect him every 3 years. You can't
Yes.
be, there's no such thing as a non-elected GBC.
Yes. He's basically a self-made GBC, I think, from the in crowd.
Well, it's just a question
He
of
was
dictatorship.
appointed. He was appointed by the GBC.
What's he?
Yeah.
Are you eating?
Yeah.
Remember, you're on camera these days. So anyhow.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
so how, I mean, what's the name of our dear Prabhu from Jaipur?
Satya.
Sakya or Satya?
Satya Pro. Actually, my name is Chaitanya Pro. For some regarding some problems, I have changed the name to Satya. My full name is includes Satya also.
Jai. Okay.
Satya?
Yeah,
Yes.
SATYA, yes, bro.
Like Satya Yoga?
Yeah, Satya Truth.
Okay, Satya Prabhu. So Satya Prabhu, do you see that they cannot, the GBC, ISKCON GBC cannot complain because they have no spiritual authority whatsoever unless they are elected by the temple presidents.
Okay.
Not just one temple president, by a bunch of them. Just like when you have a democracy, you have elections, right?
Yes, bro.
So the GBC are democratically elected by the temple presidents,
Yes, bro.
from the temple presidents. So if you have 40 temple presidents and they want 12 men for GBC, each one writes down who he thinks should be the GBC. And of those number that they think, then they hold an election. And each temple president votes. And whoever gets the most votes, he is the GBC for 3 years.
Okay. That is then only when there are more number of temples, we can have the GBC. Isn't
You can
it,
have
bro?
a GBC anytime
For single
you
temple
need
also,
one,
bro.
but one temple can't have a GBC.
Yeah, yes, bro. So if one temple, if a single temple have no GBC, then they can continue their preaching activities, everything.
Of course, because the only reason for the GBC is to help temples work collectively. But if you have only
Okay.
one
Yes, bro.
temple, how does one temple work collectively? I mean, instead
Okay,
of a
yes.
GBC, you have a temple president. And if you
Yes,
don't
bro.
like your temple president, get another temple president. Or if he owns the property, then he remains temple president. And if you really don't like it, go find another property. You know what I mean? So the whole point is with your one temple, you can have a temple in your apartment. Do you have a house or apartment where you're living?
Yes, bro.
Okay, you can make that a temple. You can,
Okay.
all you have to do is incorporate it as ISKCON temples. ISKCON Incorporated. And if you do that, then you and others, you can start to have conferences. If it gets to be so many temples like that, so many apartment temples, like 50 of them, everybody has a temple registered as an ISKCON center, then you can have a GBC. You elect one out of the temples, the temple presidents of the different temples. That's what a GBC actually is. And that is our main working point right now, because ISKCON, who has told you that you cannot be a temple unless you have a GBC, they cannot be a GBC, they cannot be a temple unless GBC is elected by the temple presidents. So they have absolutely no argument position whatsoever. What is their argument?
Yes.
How do they argue that their GBC is bona fide?
Yeah, actually, this is an argument with HKM, bro. HKM Visakhapatnam.
With what?
They're ISKCON Bangalore group, not ISKCON, bro.
I don't understand what you're saying.
They are actually belongs to ISKCON Bangalore. I have argued with ISKCON Bangalore devotee.
Well, ISKCON Bangalore has GBCs.
Yeah, it has GBC, no Prabhu.
Yeah. So if this is an ISKCON Bangalore temple, then they are under the Bangalore GBC.
Yeah, actually ISKCON Bangalore temple has their individual centers like HKM, no Prabhu. I think you know Hare Krishna movement.
Bangalore has?
Bangalore has their centers named as Hare Krishna movement.
That's
So
Well,
actually,
you're talking about Jaipur, right?
yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
HKM. HKM is Yasodanandan and Paranjan, Hare Krishna movement.
Yes.
And they don't count. They're not bona fide.
Yeah, bro. Actually, that HKM devotees are saying that HKC Jaipur temple has no GBC, so they are not considered to be bona fide, and there has to be considered as bogus because they are not following the Prabhupada, which he insisted to establish the GBC in the temple.
But you can, whoever has said that, you can ask them, how many temples do you need before you can elect the GBC?
Okay.
You don't have to accuse them of being bogus. All you need to do is say, how many temples need to be in your group before you can elect the GBC?
Yes, bro. I
According
think
to the direction of management.
even
And-
Shrap. Yes, bro.
And you can say, how many temples elect each of the ISKCON GBCs? You can ask. And they say, well, they're not elected. You can say, but they were created by the direction of management by Srila Prabhupada. They must be elected. If they're not elected, they're in disobedience to Prabhupada.
Yes, bro. Yeah.
I mean, how can you have a guru and then disobey him and then say you're bona fide?
Yes, bro. But how, if there are so many temples also, if there is any new organization, new Ritvik organization, how they can form GBC, Prabhu? Because how they can elect? It is also by the temple presidents only, no?
Well, I mean, if once you have like 20 temples in Jaipur, you can
Yes,
elect
bro.
the GBC.
Okay, got it. And I got the answer very clearly, bro. Thank you very much, bro.
I'm so
And
glad you do. You see, this is one of our main points is the direction of management.
yes, bro.
We have
And-
lost a very excellent website describing the direction of management. You've read the direction of management.
Yes, bro. I have read it.
Do you have a copy yourself?
Yes, bro. I have it.
So in there, doesn't it pretty clear how you have a GBC?
Yeah, in that he mentioned 12 names of GBC, just like you
What?
said, no, bro. Yes, bro. In
What part of the direction of management isn't clear?
as far as I read it, there will be 12 members in GBC. They has to be elected for every 3 years by the temple presidents, and they can
Yes.
take out or keep the temple president with the support of the temple devotees. And
Yes.
they has, yes, bro.
No, go ahead. I'm trying to understand you.
And they has to take care of all the temples, and mostly the sannyasi devotees has to go to the every temple, and they have to preach to the their members and enlighten them. And one of the GBC member must go to the temple and check whether all the devotees are following the principles of Prabhupada properly. And
Yeah. No,
finally,
there's nothing wrong with that. You elect the temple president who teaches in his own temple how to follow all the Prabhupada's requirements. You
Yes,
go to
ma'am.
your own temple president that you can become a GBC, then he can go to any temple that maybe, you see, Prabhupada envisioned and this is the way, when I first became initiated by Srila Prabhupada and moved into a temple, either we moved in San Francisco, we had a storefront that was just going to be a store, and we moved it, and the devotees came in, they put up a Vyasasan, they put up Jagannath deities, they put a beautiful carpet, they framed pictures, they painted the walls white, and hung it. There was a nice big kitchen that was up above on a platform. And with that temple, that's how you made a temple, very easy. Now, other temples were made, like in Detroit, some devotees, they were devotees, but they had no temple. They rented a house because they were going to go to medical school at the University of Michigan in Detroit. And they had a 3-story house, very nice, rented. And they asked me to come there in 1969. I carved them Jagannath deities. I painted the place. I decorated it, made pillows and cushions for the devotees to sit on, and everything was very nice. Paka temple made out of a house. So that means that anyone that has a house or an apartment, or even a 1-room apartment, but to speak of a 2-bedroom apartment, 2 living room and bedroom, or even a house or 2 or 3 bedrooms, it doesn't matter. Because when you start, the way Prabhupada started with these type of temples, a person gets fixed up after 6 months, they were considered qualified to open a temple. After joining the movement for 6 months, taking initiation, they learned to play mridanga, harmonium, kartals, how to cook. They learned everything. Pujari work. Back then it was primitive pujari work, just incense and ghee lamp. But they learned how to do all of those things. When they learned how to do all of those things and how to lead a kirtan and give a class, they were expected after 6 months or so to go out and open their own temple.
Okay.
The guy comes in off the street, 6 months later, he's supposed to open a temple. So that type of temple would be very susceptible to GBC oversight, because the guy may go out and open a temple, but he may have some problems. He may make some mistakes. He may try to do something, or he may not have poor fund of knowledge. He may not know exactly what to do. And so because of that, then the GBC can come and help him rectify. Also, he may want to get a bigger place. The GBC can help him figure out how to do that. Also, he may want to add a business associates to the temple, where the business associates make a profit, 50% they keep, 50% they give to the temple. Then it becomes very nice. You could have Indian import store for Westerners, you can, or for Indians for that matter. You can have so many types of stores. You could have a sweet shop that you sell prasadam sweets. There's so many things, and the GBC can help you establish that, set it up, and maintain it so that it becomes a prolific thing, and people from that temple then join, bigger and bigger space, and then they go out and open temples, you see? So very quickly, in the early days, you could go into a city and you could open up 20 temples within 2 years easily, if you followed that format with the GBC being elected.
Yeah. Yes. And
20 temples in one city. Now in India, it should be easier, because everyone is starting out with basic ideas. Jaipur has Govinda Dev Temple. My son did some work for the Govinda Dev Temple and for the other temple in Jaipur from the Goswamis. Kubalesha, I don't know if you've ever met him. Young guy.
Yes, bro. Yeah, that even according to direction of management, that every temple must be organized individually, bro. They must be independent.
Each temple must be
individually incorporated and independent.
Oh,
Yes, bro.
absolutely. But not independent in the way that it's yours, independent that you incorporated as an ISKCON temple. So you can have in one block of a city, you can have 10 ISKCON temples in 10 different apartments, each one incorporated by itself.
Okay. Then does it mean that only that individual temple must be maintained by that respective president only? Or is it okay to more than one temple can be maintained by the one single president, Prabhu?
You could do it, but if you have so many, why have more than usually the temple president is a devotee that wants to open a temple. He takes initiation, he lives in the ashram, he learns everything nicely. Now he wants to start a temple and start his own ashram. So you don't need him to manage more than one temple. You can have him manage the temple, somebody else manage the other temple, each person creating an ISKCON temple. That's what Prabhupada wanted. And the movement would be far different than it is today. I like to claim that the GBC, not being elected, arranged for the death of millions of people on earth.
Okay.
Why? Because the war in Iraq, the United States went into Iraq, 4 million people were killed in Iraq. There would have been no Iraq war if we had had sufficient number of Krishna temples. It would have had a mitigating effect. It would have tempered that down. But instead, they were all very anxious how they will become big shot, how they will eventually become guru. They wanted to be in charge. So because they all wanted to be in charge of something, they didn't want to expand because that meant sharing the power with others. But if you have each temple individually incorporated, whoever incorporates it's 100% in charge of that temple. So
Exactly.
he doesn't have to worry.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think?
Yes, bro. And one more
Now,
question
you have
is
to
there,
remember,
bro.
I
Yes,
was
Prabhu. Yeah.
initiated in 1968, September
Yes,
20th,
bro.
by
Okay.
Srila Prabhupada in San Francisco. I was initiated.
Yes, bro.
The direction of management did not come out until 2 years later, 1970, about the same time that I was initiated, really, right after Rath Yatra. In 1970 was Rath Yatra. And Prabhupada had a meeting and he created with these devotees the direction of management, right?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, bro. I got the perfect answer for all these questions. I will
Yeah.
definitely try to
So a great
convey them.
crime. You would think such a simple thing, elect GBC for 3-year terms. They refused. In 1971, 1972, see, they could have had election 76, they could have election. Each time they committed such great offenses against Srila Prabhupada, literally huge offenses against Srila Prabhupada, that there was no question of holding an election, which is
Mammoth.
what they wanted. They wanted to be sure there was no election.
Exactly.
Rupa,
But
why
that
not?
doesn't stop us now. We can still do it now and get it going now.
Yes. And moreover, we can talk to all the people. I think that our chief audience right now is not people that have been in ISKCON for years and years and years. That will be secondary audience. Our primary audience is people that are between 20, 25, and 30 years old, and 30, 35, and 40 years old, maximum. Anybody older than that has been so twisted up by propaganda from ISKCON, they won't be able to quickly understand anything. But if we get all the youth mobilized, in other words, there are thousands of people in India particularly reading Prabhupada's books, but they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. When they go into an ISKCON temple, some of them join, of course, but if they go into ISKCON temple, they don't feel that it's right. They don't feel comfortable there. So we want to create a sense, you're not being comfortable is very good, because what they have done is criminal.
Criminal.
Yeah, because GBC unelected is an act against humanity.
And they must be
It's a
brought to
criminal act
task.
against humanity. What? What?
They must be brought to task.
Yes. And how do you bring them to task? Well, the most beautiful way of bringing people to task is speak the truth in such a way that people won't want to listen to lies anymore. We don't have to put them in jail or shoot them, although that might be
No,
fun.
we should exfoliate them.
We could exfoliate them. But you know what will really happen, Prabhu? We don't, but besides us doing that, they'll be exfoliated by their own followers.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't that make sense? Their own followers will exfoliate them. Their own followers will say, what is going on here? You're claiming you're going to, as guru, you're going to take me back to Godhead. But I can understand by reading Shastra and going to the Zoom call of the League for 10K, 10,000 Years of Golden Gate of Kali, that this, that if you hear the holy name of Krishna once from the lips of Lord Chaitanya, meaning from the mood of Radharani through the lips of Chaitanya, down through the Sampradaya to Srila Prabhupada, that if you hear Srila Prabhupada utter the holy name of Krishna once, it's the same as hearing Krishna mention it. Same as hearing Lord Chaitanya chant is hearing Prabhupada chant. So what about another guru? We'll say, fine, you want a guru? Go join a Hindu temple somewhere. What do you want a guru for? What is he going to do for you? What will you get from that guru? You go to the guru to get something, don't you? So what do you want to get from a guru? Liberation? Going back to Godhead? That's already guaranteed by hearing Prabhupada chanting the holy name of Krishna once. So what are you going to get that Prabhupada hasn't already guaranteed? Well, daily guidance or like that. Yes, that's nice. But you don't need a guru for daily guidance. You need a temple president for daily guidance, or a temple commander, or a temple guide, or senior devotee for guidance. You don't need to have a guru who is not on the level of Vaikuntha. Prabhupada said the guru, the Shiksha guru and the Diksha guru are all associates with Krishna in Krishna Loka. That's where they come from. We fell from Krishna Loka, and then they send the acharyas like Prabhupada down to rescue us who have fallen and bring us back to Krishna Loka. But it's not that we can be fallen souls, not yet pure devotees, and then declare ourselves to be guru. So many people, Guru Maharajji, there's Yogananda, there's so many gurus. But that doesn't, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. There's so many people like that. But they know people are looking for something, and they say, oh, I am the thing you're looking for. So people come and pay them money. They give them money, dakshina. Why? Because the person coming wants something. What does he want? Benefit. What benefit? Well, I want to go to heaven when I die, or Godhead, or whatever. I want my family to be prosperous. I want my wife to remain faithful to me all during the marriage. I want my children to grow up and be pious people and get a good education and join IT and make a lot of money. That's what they want. That's why they go to the guru. End of story. So we need to get away from that whole guru idea as being unnecessary. We have determined gurus, we could call them bogus gurus, or we can modify them, call them unnecessary gurus.
And that they're all unnecessary gurus.
Yeah, except for Prabhupada. And they can say, don't you need a living guru? But I just copied, Ramachandra, I copied one of these quotes from Gargamuni's posting, where it describes, Prabhupada describes that once you're initiated, that he's with you always. Do you have that posting, or you don't have it available easily? Ramachandra? Where's Ramachandra?
Prabhu, he has messaged that he will be back by 9:52 p.m.
I don't see him. Satya. Narayan. Mark Yukon. He should be Mahaprabhu.
Haribol. Haribol.
Haribol. Ramachandra's muted. Ramachandra, you're muted.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Is that Satya?
Yes, Prabhu. Ramchandra Prabhu has messaged that he will be back by 9:52 p.m. Prabhu.
You have an idea what happened to Ramachandra?
I also don't know, Prabhu.
Took a break.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. Prabhupada is with the disciple. After initiation, Prabhupada is with you always. And he is looking after you. So if you become initiated by Prabhupada, by the temple president, acting as a pujar, as a priest, doing the sacred fire, and in every temple pretty much, usually, any big temple has a person who does the fire sacrifices. For Shraddha, when somebody dies, for Annaprasana, when a baby reaches 4 months old, for wedding, when they want a nice sacred wedding so that the auspiciousness of the sacred fire will help them make a strong marriage. And Diksha also. And also the Brahman Diksha. So that can all be done in behalf of Prabhupada by the temple president. No big deal. You don't need a special Ritvik guru. And besides, I resent the word Ritvik because Ritvik was introduced by Tamal Krishna, not by Prabhupada. Rupa, what did Prabhupada call what Tamal called Ritviks? What did Prabhupada call? Rupa?
Huh?
What did Prabhupada call who was Ritviks? What did he call them?
Officiating acharyas.
Yeah, Prabhupada called them officiating acharyas, not Ritviks. Kamal insisted on putting the word Ritvik into the July 9th letter. So the whole July 9th letter, the whole thing with the final order, it was good for its time. It awoke us. It gave us data that we sorely needed. But now it's way behind time because now we can come to recognize that Prabhupada had no reason to make those 11 men into representatives of the Acharya, and he had no reason to create people called Ritviks because he well knew, first of all, he knew that they were most of them were part of poisoning him. So why would he make them the leaders of ISKCON? And the second thing is, he knew very well they were going to immediately declare themselves to be real gurus or, bona fide guru, whatever they call themselves, successor gurus, when Prabhupada left. He knew that. He wasn't stupid. I mean, it's embarrassing for me to have to say that Prabhupada was not stupid, but he wasn't. And if anyone could have looked at that group of people, and if you can say that Prabhupada didn't know that they were poisoning him, didn't know that they were actively homosexual and child molesters, and didn't know that they were going to declare themselves regular gurus after he entered Samadhi, then Prabhupada would not be smart or wise. But he was smart, he was wise, pure devotee of the Lord. So there is no question but that he knew exactly what was going to happen, and that means the final order has to be modified. because it's no longer useful as it is. It gives us more power to know that Prabhupada knew what they were going to do. And if you start to think of it, Ritviks or representatives of the Acharya, if you have either of those, why would Prabhupada pick 11 people that were poisoning him and were homosexuals and were child molesters over hundreds of other nice, advanced, serious, sensitive, intelligent devotees in ISKCON that could have done a very excellent job as representative for doing pujari, for doing diksha? Why them?
Yes, Prabhu. Same doubt I have.
Yeah.
Why
so-
Why would that be?
Only, although he know that they are poisoning him, why he selected those people only? Yeah.
Yeah, why would he make them? So, Satya, we don't see you're muted. Are you there?
Yes, Prabhu.
Satya? Yeah, and we don't see your picture. Does that happen or it doesn't happen?
Oh, yeah, it can be happened. I can on my video.
Yeah, why not? Just go for you can choose to be on screen video.
Yeah.
Just punch video.
Rupa Manjari Das, he looks so beautiful tonight.
Oh gosh, you're flatterer.
All right.
Ramachandra. Ramachandra ditched out, I think.
I'm
said
back.
He said he'd be back in 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm back.
Been a
Oh,
lot
he's
more
back.
than 2 minutes.
He's back.
Oh,
He's back.
Ramachandra, do you
Yes?
have that quote from Prabhupada that I sent you in an email and sent to Rupa Manjari also?
Yes.
That has Prabhupada describing after Diksha what sort of ongoing association with the spiritual master is there.
Yes. Let me pull up the exact email. So we
Can
can.
you bring that? Can you put that up?
Yes. All right. Okay. Give me a few minutes.
Oh, sure.
All right.
Because that is probably our strongest argument why Prabhupada is perfectly capable of being a living guru, considering he's eternal. Yeah, he's an Uttamadhikari who is eternal from and lives in Krishna Loka. How can he not be eternal?
Satya, is that you with the purple background?
Say it
Oh, there
again.
you are. You look very much Rajasthani. Are you from Rajasthan?
Me, Prabhu.
Yes.
You're born in Jaipur?
No, Prabhu. I am from Andhra Pradesh.
Really?
Yeah,
So that
Prabhu.
means you're into IT?
No, Prabhu.
Hyderabad
Actually,
is IT.
not either. I am from Visakhapatnam, Prabhu, near Simhachalam.
So what brings you to Jaipur? Or are you in
Act-
Jaipur?
I am right now at Andhra Pradesh only, Prabhu. Actually, I have got contacted with Hare Krishna community Jaipur. That's why I have asked the question really.
Oh, I completely misunderstood everything you said. But I enjoyed meeting you. You look like, are you from a Kshatriya Dharma background?
My background, we are Vaishyas, Prabhu.
You're Vaishyas? You
Yeah.
look like a Kshatriya.
No, Prabhu.
I bet that your Vaishyas have some Kshatriya blood in them.
Actually, we used to sell oil, bro. Our main occupation is.
What sort of business?
Main business is to sell the oil.
What
Merchant.
did he say, Rupa? What did he say?
They sell oil.
Really? Which type of oil?
Sesame oil, bro.
Sesame,
Ah, cooking oil,
till.
Yeah, yes, bro. Till,
Yeah.
yeah.
but not sandalwood oil.
No, bro.
I was hoping.
Yes.
Okay, we have 7 minutes left to this meeting.
Yeah, bro. My final question is that how Ritviks get appointed, bro? That means
How do who?
any see
It
in
doesn't-
some. Yes, bro.
You don't have to appoint them. If anybody who's a temple president could be a Ritvik, or if he has
Oh.
somebody in the temple who is a pujari, whoever is going to be the Ritvik will be somebody who's performing wedding ceremonies.
Okay.
So the word Ritvik is not a bona fide word. The is the representative of the Acharya, is that it, Rupa, or is it something else?
Officiating acharyas.
Officiating Acharya. Well, they're both, I think Prabhupada used both of them, but officiating Acharya means that he's doing all the fire sacrifices. I pointed out, when people die, fire sacrifice. People get married, fire, I won't say fire sacrifice. When people die, Agnihotra. When people get married, Agnihotra. When Anaprasana, when the baby's 4 months, Agnihotra. People get initiated, Agnihotra. Take Brahman initiation, Agnihotra. Same person.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be appointed by any, who would appoint? If the temples are all independent, who has the authority to appoint the officiating Acharya?
Yeah. The same note, I thought that GBC may appoint. Not like that,
Well,
bro.
but how can the GBC, first of all, the GBC there is no GBC anywhere. In
Okay.
Hyderabad, you have no GBC, I mean, in your
Yes, bro.
town, you have no GBC, and in ISKCON, there's no GBC. Why
Okay.
there's no GBC in ISKCON? You can say, show me it's like, supposing you're driving your car, or I don't know, in India, but in America, when you drive your car and you break the law by driving, and then the policeman pulls you over, he says, show me your driver's license.
Mm.
But if you don't have
Yes,
a
bro.
driver's license, how you can say you can drive the car? You see what the point is? So in the question
Yes, bro.
that you come up with is, if you're GBC, then show me your driver's license. Where is your GBC? Where is your election? Which temple president selected you? And in what year? 2 years ago? 1
Okay.
year ago? 2 years ago? 3 years ago? If it was 3 years ago, you're probably on your way out unless you were reelected. Okay.
4 minutes to go.
Yes.
Okay, this is the email that Narayan Prabhu wrote on July 27th at
Yeah, you
11:08
could read.
p.m.
I would recommend that you read what I wrote first and then read what Prabhupada said, so it'll be contextualized.
Rupa Manjari Prabhu, can you do the pleasure of reading?
Sure.
Did the best.
Guru cannot be appointed. He is self-manifest and has nothing to do with religious activities and cannot be appointed by a committee of board of directors of materially authorized corporation. In the case of ISKCON, the board of directors was intended to be elected for 3 years by collected temple presidents, and then after 3 years return to the temple president's duties. How can such a person declare himself to be beyond the election requirement and as members of a non-elected dictatorship, then somehow imagine that they have the right to that they have the divine potency to elect spiritual masters? This is diametrical opposition to the clear, unambiguous declaration by Srila Prabhupada below. Om Tat Sat. Question: if one has accepted a bona fide spiritual master and he did not receive much knowledge
Try
from
to
him,
contextualize. This is published by Gargamuni, who was the brother of Brahmananda, one of the original members of ISKCON from one of the first people that Prabhupada initiated. Okay, so now go ahead.
Question, if one has accepted a bona fide spiritual master and he did not receive much knowledge from him, can he change his spiritual master? Prabhupada, a bona fide spiritual master, where is the necessity of changing? Bona fide spiritual means he must get knowledge, he must inquire. The student must inquire from the spiritual master. If he remains dumb, then what bona fide spiritual master can do? We get so many letters daily, so many inquiries. Then the student must be very inquisitive. Otherwise, how shall he make progress? If he remains dumb, then what the bona fide spiritual master can do? If you go to a very nice school, but you do not study, if you do not inquire, then what is the use of going to the nice school? You must be also very alert to inquire, to understand, to make progress. Then it will be all right. If you do not utilize the benefit of having a bona fide spiritual master, then that is your fault. You must utilize the opportunity. We are publishing so many books, so many literatures, magazines. Why? Just to enlighten more and more. But if you don't take advantage of this, then how can you make progress? Change of spiritual master requires when the spiritual master is not bona fide. Otherwise, there is no necessity of changing. Question, how does one contact the spiritual master? Through a book, can you contact the spiritual master? Yes, through books and also personal, because when you make a spiritual master, you have got personal touch. Not that in air you make a spiritual master. You make spiritual master concrete. So
I
as
think
soon
he
as you,
doesn't mean make. I think he means meet.
so as soon as you make a spiritual master, you should be inquisitive.
Meet a spiritual master.
Yes, as soon as you meet.
M-E-E-T.
Yes.
It's a typo.
Okay. Question, is that spiritual master still guiding us after death? Prabhupada, yes. Just like Krishna is guiding us, similarly, spiritual master will guide. We are being guided by Krishna by the Bhagavad Gita. Although Krishna is not physically present, Krishna is present always. So question, so sometimes the spiritual master is far, far away. He may be in Los Angeles. Somebody is coming to Hamburg Temple. He thinks, how will the spiritual master be pleased? Prabhupada, just follow his order. Spiritual master is along with you by his words. Just like my spiritual master is not physically present, but I'm associating with him by his words.
Jai. So the quotes are from Bhaktivinoda Thakur Appearance Day, September 3rd, 1971 in London. And this one is Srimad Bhagavatam lecture on Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 2, July 7th, 1972, London.
And it's now 10 o'clock, so we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
Well, but let's give it another few minutes so that we can have some impact of what we read.
So in this paragraph here, Srila Prabhupada is saying, which is being neglected in ISKCON, where is it? Prabhupada is saying, where you must be very alert to inquire, to understand, to make progress. Then it will be all right. If you do not utilize the benefit of having a spiritual master, then that is your fault. You must utilize the opportunity. We are publishing so many books, so many literatures, magazines. Why? Just to enlighten more and more. But if you don't take advantage of this, then how can you make progress? So in this point, Prabhupada is saying the insufficient guidance part is coming in here. So if you don't sufficiently educate yourself in trying to recognize or trying to understand what is the qualifications of the spiritual master, then you'll be you'll be cheated, more or less. Insufficient guidance, Prabhupada says. So if you want insufficient guidance, then don't ask questions. Just follow what ISKCON GBC is saying.
But the first question you can ask is, how did you become GBC?
Yes.
Who elected you?
Then how you became a guru.
Well, yeah, but then you can ask the guru, how did you become guru? I was appointed by the GBC. I was elected up to be guru by the GBC. Okay, and who elected the GBC? When were they elected? Well, they weren't elected. Then how can they be called GBC? It's as simple as that.
Jai.
If you break the back of the unelected GBC dictatorship, then you no longer have any ISKCON gurus.
Yes,
Yeah.
but you see, there's a discrepancy because Srila Prabhupada did say GBC is not to be changed. He said that. So they cling to that
Well,
as
change from
proof
what to what?
that once Srila Prabhupada makes somebody a GBC, he stays for life. Because GBC is not to be changed.
And that was a lecture, or was that a tape recording, or was that in print?
I think that was in print.
Signed?
Where?
Okay, let
In
me
his
search for
will?
it. Rupa Manjari Prabhu, do you know the exact words? GBC is for life. What did Prabhupada exactly say?
And GBC is not to be changed.
Okay, let me.
I
let
know,
me
but
search.
you could argue that he means GBC should not be changed from the direction of management. How can they be GBC if they're not elected to begin with? You know, I think, hello, is everybody there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, well, I've given that considerable thought in the past. My conclusion is that Prabhupada, again, like creating the Riffics and under Tamal's guidance or insistence, and knowing they were going to become regular gurus, sending them to Sridhar to be indoctrinated how to become regular gurus, that they, because he already wrecked the Gaudiya Math with regular gurus, so that this idea of keep the GBC as it is almost like saying them to be Ritvik. Why those people Ritvik? They were murderers, poisoners. If you believe in the poison issue, they were, which I happen to be an early member of, understanding that they are. He appointed unworthy people to be his representatives because if he didn't, they were already in charge of 11 zones. They would have divided ISKCON up into 11 places, and eventually each guru would be a guru over his own organization, and ISKCON would fail. It would fall into pieces and just become a few little temples under each GBC around the world here and there, and it wouldn't have had any potency or been able to move forward. By letting the murderers become his successors, he enabled the movement to stay together. That's what the July 9th letter really was all about. So how do you keep ISKCON united? So when he says the GBC should remain, I mean, you can imagine if he didn't say that, the minute he was gone, the GBC would start cutting each other's throats as to who's going to be GBC. So he wanted them to stay as they are. Can they stay that way forever? Well, I don't think so, because even if you accept that he meant they will remain as they are, no change, what if one of them dies? Isn't that a change? If one of them dies, wouldn't you call that a change? Who replaces the one that dies? Or you don't replace them, you just wait till they all die off. Do you see that, Rupa?
Yeah.
Rupa Manjari?
Yeah.
You're eating again. So your hair looks good. If you don't mind my saying so.
Fantastic.
That's an impudent thing to say to a lady on a Zoom call. But anyhow, so what I'm really saying is, if they remain as is, the answer, the question one immediately asks, and I've asked is, okay, remains as is. For how long? And of course, when he said they remain as is, they were all standing there with cups of poison for him to drink in their hands, right?
Yeah.
So that's an amazing.
There's another point to consider. In the direction of in the direction of management, Srila Prabhupada writes, quote unquote, in the succeeding years. And he's talking about the voting and all that. It's almost as if he's saying, while I'm here physically, I will run the GBC myself. In the succeeding years, I want them to be elected.
No, he wanted them to be elected. They were planning elections. The whole thing is every time an election was planned, they came in and destroyed it. Now, why not look at that language very carefully, Rupa? and I will too if I could get a hold of a copy of the direction of management. And I think my understanding, what he was talking about at that time was, I will be present at the GBC meetings when I am here. After I am gone, the GBC will continue without me being in those meetings.
Yeah.
That's how I took it to mean.
Okay.
Oh, has somebody said something, or that's your own thinking?
That's my own observation.
Okay, that's good. That's what Istagosthi is bring up an observation and work it through until the answer becomes apparent.
Yep.
All right. So,
I want to go to sleep now.
all right then.
Okay.
We'll end it here,
So,
Prabhu.
but wait a minute. I would like to know
Yes.
if our compadre, our new member, has any question, or Rupa, you can go to sleep if you like, but we'd like your presence. But if you have any question, this is an important quote. It took a while to get it up onto the board, and we just want to make sure. Is there any part of that you question or do not understand?
Yes, Prabhu, surely.
What part don't you understand or do you question?
Yeah. Regarding today's question, I got complete answer, Prabhu. Very thank you for that.
Yes, you feel answered?
Yes, Prabhu, definitely.
Yes. Feel free to ask on the WhatsApp, and then we can.
And you can always present we've trying to be cleaning up the WhatsApp site for the League for 10K so that it isn't got all sorts of nectar on it, which is wonderful, but it's like a boxing ring. You don't put a bunch of flower decorations around the boxing ring. You have it all ready for the boxers to slug at each other. So Istagosthi is like a boxing ring where you come in and you encounter each other and somebody wins the argument based upon Guru Shastra Sadhu. So that's your wrestling like that. So now you can bring up any question you like, put it on the WhatsApp,
Yes,
League
Prabhu.
for 10K, okay? And
Yes.
come back on Saturday and Sunday also if you wish. If
Oh,
that's
definitely,
convenient
Prabhu, I will
to
join.
schedule. Can you
Yeah.
come back also? Or
Yes,
I
Prabhu,
don't know,
definitely.
you have a work schedule, school schedule, I don't know what you have.
All right, Prabhu. Thank you very much for joining Satya, Prabhu. It's very nice to see you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Prabhu. Very nice to have the association of senior Vaishnavas.
Guess what?
Hare
You have turned Kali Yuga into Satya Yuga.
Haribol.
By being Satya, you made it Satya Yuga. We don't have to even wait for Kalki.
Satya Prabhu, please come back again soon.
Yes,
Definitely.
please.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right, Prabhu.
Hare
We'll end it
Krishna,
here.
Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
Mahaprabhu. You look
Yes,
more
Prabhu. Thank
saintly
you,
every
Prabhu. Hare
time. You
Krishna.
look more saintly every time I see you.
Thank you. All glories to
Thank
Srila
you.
Prabhupada.
All
Hare
glories.
Krishna.
Good
Hare
night.
Krishna. Good night.